A24 continues to take over Hollywood with every single movie that they release. They started in 2012 as a movie distribution company, and over the last 12 years have expanded into movie and television production as well, all while becoming one of the hottest logos in Hollywood. When the A24 logo pops up before a movie, you know it's going to be something. They will end 2024 with having released 23 projects in just this year. 23. While some of those are documentaries or TV series, most of them are pretty notable films. I Saw the TV Glow, We Live in Time, Love Lies Bleeding, and a few movies yet to come out like Baby Girl and The Brutalist. A24 continues to get more popular with nearly every single movie they release, but which films from its vast library of over 170 projects are the most underrated? Welcome back to Movies Are So Back, the YouTube movie review channel where I, Ethan Simmie, ask the question, are movies so back? Except today, I'm not really asking that question because the answer is yes. And the answer is yes, movies have been so back because for the last decade or so, some of the A24 movies that have been released are not only just the best A24 movies that have ever been made, but some of the best movies that have ever been made, period. But you know those movies. I'm talking about movies that you've probably never seen, maybe never even heard of, that are just as good as some of the very best A24 movies. Let's kick off this list at number 10. Number 10 is Sharper. This movie that released in early 2023 and went straight to streaming on Apple TV Plus features a cast that solidifies it as underrated. Nothing more to say. Julianne Moore, Sebastian Stan, Justice Smith, and John Lithgow. Put them all in a New York City set drama about family secrets and theft, and you've got a pretty fun movie. This movie is the ultimate 3-star movie, but I mean that complimentary. It really breaks down at the end. It's really convoluted throughout the entire film, and it's a movie that you just never think about again after the credits roll, but there are two reasons why I wanted to include it on this list. Number one, nobody saw this movie. Like, at all. It went straight to Apple TV Plus, and just nobody watched it. And I feel like that is a big key component of calling a movie underrated. Number two, Julianne Moore and Sebastian Stan, they get to be hot and they get to be weird in this movie. The movie really lets them dig into that and be the ultimate hot weirdos. And for that and that alone, I think this movie deserves to be on the underrated A24 list. Number 9 is a 2015 gambling buddy road trip thrill movie starring Ben Mendelsohn and Ryan Reynolds. Now, let me just stop you right there. I hate Ryan Reynolds as an actor. Truly cannot stand him, detest and despise him as an actor, the scourge of the acting earth, if you will, to put it lightly. But for some reason in this movie, he's okay. He's not good, but he's okay, and he makes the movie work. And it's probably because he's not doing that dumb fuck Deadpool shtick that he has committed his entire on-screen life to, but he's actually being dramatic, and he's being real, and he's being a serviceable actor. Again, not good, but enough to make this movie underrated and good enough to be on this list. Ben Mendelsohn is a true degenerate in this movie, and the film dissects gambling addiction, how prevalent and powerful parasitic relationships are in life, and how cool playing poker can look. It's a good movie that resides within the A24 catalog that nobody seems to have seen. Underrated. Okay, at number 8, it's a little movie called Red Racket. Perhaps you've heard of it. Anora director Sean Baker released this film in 2021, directly before Anora, and in my opinion, it is Sean Baker's best film. The movie follows Mikey Saber, a down-on-his-luck former porn star played by the incredible Simon Rex, who returns to his hometown of Texas City, Texas, to get his life back on track. In the midst of his dysfunctional living situation with his family, he meets a young woman named Strawberry at the local donut shop and proceeds to believe in hope and love and true, caring relationships. Now, in my opinion, this is Sean Baker's best and most imperative script and movie as a whole. It tackles what Sean Baker talks about the best: the pitfalls of rural America during political distress and how that ultimately affects the core idea and vision and threshold of what the American dream is. It is hilarious, it is gorgeous, it is so goddamn sad, and it's so underrated. Number 7, Come On, Come On. A gorgeous black and white Mike Mills film. It follows Joaquin Phoenix's character of Johnny and his cross-country trek with his young nephew from New York to LA and all of the quirky, heartfelt, and heartbreaking moments along the way. Now, I haven't seen this movie since its release in 2021, but there's a very specific reason for that because I remember one thing about going to see this movie. Well, I guess two things. One, I was the only person in the theater, and the second thing is that by the end of the film, I was just a puddle of tears. And I'm just not ready to go back to that. It is a remarkably effective and beautiful film that is underrated, but it will gut you like a fish. Number 6 is First Cow. Kelly Reichardt's 2019 character study featuring John Magaro as a traveling cook and Orion Lee as a Chinese immigrant set in the 1820s. This movie is slow. It is studied. It is powerful. The two end up scheming up a plan to steal a landowner's milk-producing cow, and yes, it is the first and only cow in the area. Now, Kelly Reichardt films are definitely an acquired taste in terms of pacing and narrative, but if you can get into it, it's really easy to see how it truly is one of the most underrated A24 films out there. Number 5 on the list is mid-90s. Now, I've seen over 110 A24 films. I have them all ranked on my Letterboxd. Mid-90s is number 16. Not just in terms of underrated A24 movies, but like all of the ones that I have seen, it is number 16. It is that good. This is probably the most talked about movie on this list, but I still feel like it is remarkably underrated. It's a coming-of-age story set in 1990s Los Angeles that centers around a 13-year-old navigating a troubled home life and a new group of friends that he meets at a skate shop. It's got a lights-out soundtrack that perfectly encapsulates LA in the 90s. Lucas Hedges is in this movie. I repeat, Lucas Hedges is in this movie. It's got one of the hardest, sickest, just most ridiculous nicknames in movie history. It's also got one of the coolest A24 logos out there, hence underrated. Number 4 is likely a movie that you've never even heard of because, truthfully, I had never heard of it until just a few months ago when I watched it for the very first time. It is called The End of the Tour. This movie stars Jesse Eisenberg and Jason Segel. Eisenberg plays a Rolling Stone reporter who is following Segel's character of David Foster Wallace around on the final leg of his book tour. This movie is based on a true story. It's quiet, it's solemn. The movie possesses a very prying script that is so sharp and so interesting. And it's basically just about two guys who feel very differently about their place in the world and their own self-confidence and how they view themselves. And they're trying to understand the other person's point of view. It is without a doubt the best thing that Jason Segel has ever made, so there's that. And it's a movie that I have thought a lot about since seeing. Okay, time for the top 3, and number 3 is Zola. Zola is based on a very real string of tweets that saw an exotic dancer and waitress named Zola make friends with a girl named Stephanie and proceed on a road trip from Detroit to Tampa, Florida to make some money. Things obviously go really, really wrong. Coleman Domingo is in this movie doing what he does best. He is capital A acting, and it is so fun. Our boy cousin Greg is as awkward as ever, and Riley Keough confirms why she is such a good actress. The editing and narrative style of Zola is super A24 coded. It is quick, it is energetic, it is steeped in doom. If that's your thing, you'll probably love Zola. Number 2 is A Most Violent Year, a thriller set in New York City in 1981, all about an immigrant family trying to expand their gas business amid one of the most violent years in the city's history. Why is it underrated? Oscar Isaac being powerful and conniving in 1980s New York. Jessica Chastain doing the same thing but with blonde hair. A wild ending that leaves you pretty shocked. That's all you need to know. Super, super underrated. And at number 1, what I consider to be the most underrated A24 movie ever, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Now, set aside the fact that Jonathan Majors is a downright horrible and terrible person for a quick second, this movie is one of the very best that A24 has ever put their logo on. A sad yet hopeful look at how Jimmy Fails embarks on a quest to reclaim the Victorian home his grandfather owned in the heart of the rapidly changing San Francisco. It's got 2 of the greatest acting performances that I think I've ever seen in a movie. 2 performances that navigate male perception, male societal standards, male fragility, and the importance of familial history in the face of an evolving world. It's also just one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen, ever. Just remarkably beautiful. So there you have it, the 10 most underrated A24 movies. I stand by this list, and I hope this list encourages you to seek out some of these films if you haven't seen them, if you hadn't heard of them, and watch some good movies. Is there a list or ranking that you want to see me do in the next video? If so, let me know. Remember to like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Letterboxd, where you can see my entire A24 ranking list of all 110 A24 movies that I have seen. I'll see you in the next video.